just my way of giving back. It's definitely a cause, not only personally, but my experience in law enforcement, dealing with that. And, of course, the kids are always the hardest thing to deal with anyway.
Right.
So,
right.
But there's no maximum that we can receive, but if we're not fully funded, then neither of these organizations get their benefit, and the film, doesn't get funding either. So. And
that's sad all the way around.
Oh, I agree. I agree.
So there's no way to extend it once it's started, then, right?
No, that's correct. They put a maximum of 60 days on there, and we've actually been stuck at a small amount for a period of time. I'm not sure a whole lot of people understand the crowdfunding venue. It is one of those things where you will put some contributions in and you'll receive something back, either and they vary depending on how much you give.
Right.
I've tried to be conscious of everyone's not only wallet but the time of the year that it is right now, and put some contributions as little as $5, so that people can just put a $5 in and go, hey, I support victims of abuse, I support this film, I support what you're doing, etc. I've also tried to go on the campaign, up to $5,000 for corporations that would like to corporately sponsor and receive some shout-outs and credit on the film, etc., but also show that corporately they stand with victims of abuse, and they're helping two organizations receive some funds that also provide advocacy and support victims of abuse as well. So,
have you reached out to any of corporations and let them know about the campaign? Yeah,
I have. I've actually tried, and of course, one of the things I do for another production company as well is talk to some of the major corporations and try to do product placement and those sorts of things. And of course, it's always when you get into trying to, from a corporate aspect, when they're trying to say, like Mercedes-Benz, for example, they're doing their funding request right now for 2014. So anything I put to Mercedes-Benz will be reviewed, but it won't be funded until 2014. So a lot of corporations, work this way where they come up with next year's budget now.
Right.
And then you got to worry about how do I put your car in the film to kind of, those sorts of things. And they're looking at it, a lot from a corporate aspect, what's all in it for me. And I tried to do that. But this particular short film would be very difficult to stick, Air France or, Marriott hotels or something like, because there's just not the opportunity to do that. They could, if they wanted to, go to Indiegogo and throw a campaign in there under the corporate, and then they'd have that benefit. But to actually go in there and say, hey, this is what we're doing, time-wise, and by the time they go through their committees. Yeah.
Well, maybe Sabina and I can maybe find some emails or phone numbers of some, local people in the area that, wouldn't mind sponsoring something like this and contact them and just, I don't know. I mean, because I just feel that this is so important to be put out there that I feel that strongly that I wouldn't mind, contacting some local area businesses to see if they would be interested.
Yeah, and that'd be appreciated. I have talked with my locations manager with regard to, she's saying, at about a cost of $1,000 a day to use somebody's office or house. It's one of those things where North Carolina, where we'll be filming this film, is still, even though the film market has been here and they're booming back up again, there's still a lot of mistrust amongst the people here to let you use their office, let you use their car, let you use this thing. And then the flip side to that same coin is you're borrowing your friend's car, you're borrowing your friend's house, you're doing something else along those lines. which is perfectly fine. But then you get into the scheduling where you're having to do a shoot over a couple of different weekends that fit within their schedules.
Right.
Versus blocking out, in this case, 4 days where we could have our director, we could have our name talent come in from LA or New York or wherever we secure a name talent to come down, is because it's one of those things where we got to shoot it within 4 days. We've got to have the house. We've got to have the apartment. We've got to have the car. We've got to have something along those lines within these 4 days. So then you're forking money out to be able to say, I need to borrow your office space on Friday evening, which now I'm paying somebody to stick around after hours.
Yeah,
so
whether it be the janitor or whoever. Yeah.
Exactly.
Well, I wanted to say I'm actually in Atlanta, and there is definitely some booming movies production teams here.
Absolutely. And Atlanta took it away from North Carolina, but North Carolina is trying to get a lot of it back. So. Mm-hmm. And one of the reasons that I am looking to do it here is because I have so many connections here, having lived here and worked here, that I could call up, my locations manager, and she already has experience on the local, commuter buses, who to contact for that, how we could get a commuter bus and pay the driver, so she has much of the stuff here already. It just makes it easier for me versus going to Atlanta or New York or LA and saying, okay, I don't know anybody here really. I don't know who to contact. So
that makes sense.
Yeah, and you're not asking for a lot of money. It's $27,250. That is a small sum compared to other movies.
To do about a 30-minute film, and that's one of the other reasons doing it in North Carolina is also advantageous because, I could call up a guy that I know owns several car dealerships in the state, and I could say, hey, I need a large exotic or luxury vehicle, can I borrow one? He's actually let me. I worked on a short film with a friend of mine, and she needed a cargo van, and I said, hey, can I borrow a cargo van to carry some of their stuff? He's like, yeah, sure, just give me,
Are you there? Uh-oh, now his call dropped.
I was going to say, I heard something. I thought my call dropped. It's definitely Blog Talk.
I don't know. I mean, unless he was on a cell phone in an area where all of a sudden it just dropped, we all have had those things happen to us. But to our listeners, if you are interested in contributing for this movie, please do. I mean, it's not just to make the movie, but as he said, to help contribute to different charities to help abuse victims, especially the children. And we all know how much we love the children and want to help them, because who's going to help them if we don't? They can't speak for themselves a lot of times. So it's really, really important. And I would say you go to www.indiegogo, and it's spelled like it sounds, INDIEGOGO.com. And if you type in glass walls, it comes right up, and it's by r-dana-browne. So I'm glad you're back with us.
Oh, thank you. I was talking to myself, as usual.
That's how I felt, too, yeah. It must be a Blog Talk Radio issue for sure.
It happens.
Yeah.
But I'll also be tweeting that out, Pam. I'm going to be tweeting it out daily like I do all my other tweets, so...
Yeah, that's good. She's a pimp artist. I used to do that quite often, but now with 2 shows, I've been slacking on that, and I feel bad about it because there's a lot of things that I do promote, like web series and that. So, and campaigns like this, and I try to do it as often as possible, but with working behind the scenes, I'm not always on Twitter either.
Right.
But I did just now post it to my Facebook, my personal Facebook, because I know it's on the Take Two Radio Facebook, and maybe some of my friends will kick in a couple dollars. I mean, it doesn't even have to be the minimum of $5. If there was 2,000 people that donated $1, you'd be almost right there at what you need.
Exactly. And that's the funniest thing about it is that, it's one of those things. I tried to be conscious of people's wallets, where I said if $5, $10 or something along those lines, multiple by a number of people, is definitely how projects like this get done.
Right, exactly. And it's word of mouth is so huge these days with all the different social networks. I'm actually very surprised that you don't have the funds yet.
Yeah, and like I say, I think sometimes it's I know in talking with a few people, when they see the trailer, they seem to think that the film's already done, because I've had them say, well, how's the project going? They don't say how's the funding going. They say how's the project going? How's your film going? So they've kind of already fast-forwarded in their mind that the funding's done, and this was a little sizzled, trailer of what's to be expected. So they assume that we're already filming. Yeah, and I think that's just been some public confusion as to the actual crowdfunding, what that is.
Yeah, we need to straighten some people out. So when we start tweeting it, I think we're going to have to say, "Hello, still needs funding."
Right.
Yeah, I might be doing that then. I'm gonna go out on a limb and say, once this film is funded, because I've got high hopes, and I'm pretty sure with all of our tweeting and this show, hopefully people will be woken up to this. I'm curious who you would like to cast for the film, if you have any ideas so far, and will you also star in your film?
Oh, my goodness. Wow, I hate to say names. I've actually talked with a manager of a name talent and spoke with her about having her guy play the role of and in this story, the guy's name is Eric, playing Eric's brother. There's another artist, actress that I would like to approach that has not done anything in a few years, but everybody would know. She was on a very popular television show in the 90s. She's also a huge child advocate as well, but haven't approached any, because I'm from sort of an old school where I like to say, okay, this is how much my paycheck is, this is how much I can spend through the week. I don't want to go to actual name talents and say, look, I'm looking to do a film, we don't have any funding right now, but if we get funding, would you like to be in it? It's one of those things where I have a budget, because $27,250 is the minimum required to give the 10% away, 4% for PayPal. So 14% off the top of anything that we get goes out the door. Then I take a look at the budget and go, okay, with this budget, then who do I look at to have here? What do I do a Lamborghini, or do I do a Mercedes, SL500 or something? Those sorts of things. Where do we fit these particulars within the budget to get it all done? That's just the way that I work. So there are a couple of talents that I've looked. I will also be playing the role of Eric, because it's one of those things where it was written based on personal experiences, which may be a catch-22. If we continue going on, I'll be too old to play the role. I may have to cast somebody younger than me to play it, but wouldn't that suck? But
well, my son is always looking for something to do.
Well, there you go.
And he's 23, and he was in North Carolina when he was in the Marines, so I'm sure he'll be fitting right in.
Probably been done. So it's one of those things, the Eric stage, and it kind of goes flashing back a couple of different years for him, because you kind of get a history of where his walls came from. So you get an opportunity to really root for him. And like I said, I've approached a couple of directors. One has reviewed it, and she was busy tied up, but she said the ending is just so charming and so sweet. Another director that I approached, she's filming a feature this summer, so she was unable to work. She gave me a couple other referrals to some of her friends that are here on the East Coast that direct as well, but she said this film needs to be made. It's just one